Hello there guys, what is going on? SonOfChelsea back here again for my team selector and preview ahead of tomorrow night's game against Manchester City at the Etihad in the Premier League. A dress rehearsal for that Champions League final at the end of this month. Still amazing to be able to say that, and I'm sure a lot of the coverage will be about the Champions League final. You know, what will both managers do going into this game? Are they concerned about showing their hand for that Champions League final? Could either side get an edge ahead of that big European Cup final? So I think a lot of those things will come into play when we're discussing the game, but really in the context of the Premier League, this is still huge for both sides. Man City can wrap up the Premier League title against Chelsea tomorrow with a win, and Chelsea in the top four race, you know, despite getting to the final of the Champions League, that is a route into qualifying for next season's competition, but just that safety net of getting into the top four once again, Chelsea still need to get the job done in the Premier League. So it's a massive game once again. It's a massive test for Chelsea and Tuchel, but they've come through so many at this point that you've got to be confident going into this game. It's going to be intriguing to see the team lineup tomorrow that Tuchel alluded to being quite rotated. So I'll get into that in my lineup, looking at team news, also Man City, and sort of my approach going into this game for Chelsea. But before we get into any of that good stuff, you know by now, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also hit the like button if you're enjoying this content, because it helps out the channel as well and helps new people find it. So team news, Thomas Tuchel confirming once again. It's pretty consistent now. Mateo Kovacic still out. And it's just a bit of a concern for Kova, not only because of the rotation we want in that area, the lack of depth maybe in that area at the moment that Tuchel has to go with in a game of this significance. I think as well, it's just for Kova, can he get back into that double six as a starter? Because despite Tuchel's rotation, his rotation really, for the most part, is in more offensive areas. That front three is where he rotates, I think, most liberally at the moment. In terms of that double six, it's pretty settled in the big games. And I just worry for Kova, can he make himself ready and get in those minutes before the Champions League final? But just a bit of a shame because, of course, if you want to rotate one of Kante and Jorginho, we've still got the FA Cup final around the corner, the top four games. That's a bit of a shame. So maybe, once again, this could be a surprise chance for Billy Gilmour if Tuchel is rotating either of Jorginho and Kante. Key other sort of takeaways from Tuchel's press conference, of course, the euphoria of getting to the Champions League final. But he stated pretty clearly, you know, we have to win this competition. You know, there's no just getting to the final is amazing. Of course it is. You know, getting to the Champions League final is much different, I think, in terms of stature to getting to other finals and competitions. But of course, we want to win it. We want to get the job done and lift that European Cup. And also Tuchel suggesting that there could be fresh legs tomorrow, and the high possibility we will see some changes in this lineup. And once again, it's that big balancing act that Tuchel has gotten right most of the time. But, you know, in terms of the top four race, because for Chelsea, we're 3 points clear of West Ham. They faced Everton on Sunday. Of course, there are other teams still in and around there. Spurs, I think, are about 5 points behind us. But I think West Ham is the team I'm really looking at because they're so close to us. I think going into this game, you know, Chelsea, of course, we know we can beat Man City. We did it a few weeks ago. But it's, I think a draw would be a strong result for Chelsea. Yes, if West Ham win, the gap is closed. I think a draw is not the worst result. We're still playing a very, very good Man City side. I know the confidence level is so high at the moment with Chelsea. We believe we can beat anyone. But I still think a draw would not be the worst result, and you never know, Carlo may do us a favour on Sunday at the London Stadium. But let's look at Man City quickly. Of course, they can win the Premier League title tomorrow, fully deserved to. I think they will, you know, even if it isn't tomorrow. We hope Chelsea can delay that title party, but they've been incredible in the Premier League. They really have, and of course now in their first European Cup final. But 5 wins in a row. They've been so efficient, so dominant in the Premier League. Guardiola's just been incredible, I think, for City. I spoke about this when we were previewing the FA Cup semi-final, the way he's been able to evolve that side once again. The struggles last season, you really see the strength and depth of that squad, the way he's able to freely rotate. I think I keep on bringing up his name, but I think Phil Foden, a bit like Mason Mount, those two brilliant young English talents have been incredible, both of them, their development this season. But in the case of Phil Foden, has been such a big player for them. The way they wiped the floor with PSG was so incredible. But I think Foden has been such a key part, and seeing some of his performances in the Premier League, he's going to be right up there in terms of some of the most impressive young players this year, him and Mason. And I think that Foden will likely play tomorrow. I'd be surprised if he doesn't, sometimes in that false nine role. But the way he's able to make runs, dribble with the ball, He's such a deadly player. I was actually happy he didn't start against us in the FA Cup semi-final because he is a really dangerous player. Kevin De Bruyne too. Even if City rotate their squad like Chelsea, it's still such a strong side that can cause Chelsea problems. I guess the one thing you would say, the way Pep rotated in the FA Cup semi-final, I think benefited Chelsea. So if it was a similar side, I think there'd be a confidence with Chelsea that they could do similar against Man City tomorrow. But whatever side I think they send out, it's going to be pretty strong. There's going to be that motivation to get the job done and win the Premier League title. And then for them, it would pretty much just be focusing on the Champions League final. You know, for Chelsea, they can't do that. They can't just end their season now. So that's the big thing for City. And I think Ilkay Gundogan has been such a wonderful player, being their top goal scorer this season. The world-class talent of Kevin De Bruyne. But we see big goals from Riyad Mahrez. We see across the pitch the other night, just a team unit, a bit like Chelsea. Just so many parts of that squad coming together to create some incredible performances. And Pep Guardiola, the best coach in world football, and it says a lot that Tuchel has been able to challenge him in recent weeks, and hopefully Chelsea can do similar tomorrow. But you know, the importance of this game is big. The rotation, the approach, you know, and the approach we had versus City in the FA Cup semi-final, which was spot on. That front three that is the biggest, always the biggest point of contention as we go into every single game. The way Tuchel will use it and the way he'll start it and sometimes change it as the game progresses, I think is always of intrigue of what he's going for. In the FA Cup semi-final, he went with Ziyech, Werner and Mount, which works so well to expose Man City's backline. That three, as I've said before, have a really good chemistry. And you think about Hakim Ziyech, didn't start at all, came on very late against Real Madrid, was taken off pretty early, didn't play the full 90 against Fulham either. I know there's still some frustration about the lack of use of Hakim Ziyech, but how can you complain at the moment? I think if you're a Chelsea fan, you can't really be moaning. You know, despite my frustration with maybe Tammy not getting enough minutes, you know, Timo Werner's really stepping up right now. You know, he gets a big goal against West Ham. He gets some big assists. He scores a massive goal and has a really good performance against Real Madrid in the second leg. You can't really moan, I don't think, at the moment when players like Ziyech aren't playing, and Tuchel is getting all of his big decisions right. But I do think Ziyech stands a very high chance of getting substantial minutes tomorrow if Tuchel is looking to rotate in that front three. But that's a really effective front three for me. I mean, the way Ziyech and Mount will drop a little bit deeper, Werner making those runs in behind. He was one of the first players taken off on Wednesday, so it could be more fresh of the players that regularly start for Tuchel to start in this game. But let's take a look at my starting lineup. This is one of my first, one of two I've picked for tomorrow. Not radically different, despite Tuchel's insistence there may be change. I mean, I may be radically wrong here and we may see some really big changes, but it still is Man City. It still is a big game. I think maybe that's just a bit of mind games from Thomas Tuchel, because he'll want to go out there, lay down a marker probably for the Champions League final, but also he knows if Chelsea can get 3 points in this game, it puts us in an amazing position going into the final 3 Premier League games, and I think he'll be setting up very strong. So Edouard Mendy, I think, will be in goal. Amazing the other night. Key saves once again. He's been absolutely wonderful this season for Chelsea. A back three of Dave, Christensen and Zuma. I think Kurt, if he's going to be one of those players that could come back in here, would be Kurt Zuma, even though Rudiger was absolutely outstanding as he has been under Thomas Tuchel. And I just think you'd rest Thiago Silva. I'd argue, you know, you could rest him as well for Arsenal and then getting ready for that FA Cup final against Leicester, because he's played quite a bit. If you think about it, he played against Real Madrid, he played against, of course, Fulham at the weekend, full 90 minutes, and of course played the second leg against Real Madrid again. I know he's a top player with an elite mentality, but you're going to have to rest Thiago at some point before the FA Cup final, because I want Thiago playing the FA Cup final. Spoiler alert for my FA Cup final team selector. But there you go. I think that Thiago will be rested. Christensen has been outstanding, so I think I'd like to keep him in the team. Dave, Christensen, Zuma. I don't think this back three has played a lot together, but I'm just trying to guess Tuchel if he was to rotate in the back three. I think that's where most likely the rotation will be done. Reece James, I think, will come back in at right wing back here. He played really well against Man City last time out, and of course came on late but didn't start because Dave was playing a right wing back. So I just think perfect time to bring Reece James back. His offensive quality, potentially crossing ability too, I think a great chance for a player who should be more fresh in the current squad to give him substantial minutes in the Premier League. I still think Kante and Georgie will be the double six. I just think he's going to be forced to play the same double six, and I think he'll change it up against Arsenal, I think, and that's more likely. It's a bit of a shame because, of course, Kante, we want to keep him fit, we want to preserve him, but this is still a massive Premier League game for Chelsea in the context of the top 4 race. So I think Kante, with all his energy, is so key for a game like this, making those key interceptions when Chelsea are going to be forced to sit a little bit deeper tomorrow against Man City like we did in the FA Cup semi-final. Jorginho has been outstanding. One of his best defensive performances we've ever seen in a Chelsea shirt against Real Madrid on Wednesday. Going to be full of confidence. Ben Chilwell had such a good performance, as he has done pretty consistently. He's been one of the form players for Chelsea recently under Thomas Tuchel. But then, you know, the front three. So Ziyech, Mount, Werner is my first front three. Going into my second lineup, I just threw Marcos Alonso in here if for some reason Tuchel wants to rest Ben Chilwell right now, who's played so much football recently. Once again, I'm looking at the Arsenal game where maybe you could rotate a little bit more, given Arsenal at this point of the season don't have tons to play for. That's maybe where I'd rest Chilwell over this game. But if, as I say, if Tuchel's going to surprise us. And then you have Mount, Pulisic and Havertz. Havertz has been outstanding as that number 9. He really has. That was one of his best performances for Chelsea in midweek. The way he's using his body now, the physical battle against someone like Sergio Ramos and winning that physical battle. But the way he ghosts in and out of positions, the way he builds up play, the way even offensively, and think about the way he nearly scored from a header the other night. I think, you know, using that physicality and that tall build he has to really great effect. I just think Werner against that City high line will be quite important in this game once again. But I think that Havertz has absolutely earned more minutes now. He was outstanding the other night, and it's exciting to see him coming into form at the right time of the season. And then Christian Pulisic did not start the other night, but was exceptional. I know some of you guys got frustrated with me that I didn't pin this out. Christian Pulisic was absolutely outstanding off the bench. He really was. The impact he had, the constant runs, absolutely terrifying that Real Madrid defence, and Tuchel's selection to keep him on the bench, which felt like a harsh move at the time given he scored in the first leg, was absolutely vindicated by the fact he sets up the second goal, bringing all of that energy. So I think Pulisic's in really good form. The good thing is at the moment, there are so many of our attackers that are in good form. You can have frustration about at time our finishing, of course, and that's a round problem. That's not just on Timo Werner, actually. The amount of poor finishing we saw the other night, really, that created more stress than needed, really. But Mason Mount's been exceptional this season, how important he is to the team. Christian Pulisic finding form at the right time, scoring goals. Kai Havertz scoring goals in the Premier League, finding good form. Timo Werner's going to be in lots of confidence after that goal in midweek. Hakim Ziyech isn't always a guaranteed starter, but I think has had good performances recently too. So that's something that I think will excite supporters, and it should excite, I think, us going into this game, that we can hurt Man City once again. Callum Hudson-Odoi is always a player that I think, you know, at times gets forgotten about. I just don't know where he's going to get minutes at the moment. Unfortunately, I think at times I would like to see maybe Tuchel throwing a curveball, throwing him in that front three as the left winger. We know he's played at right wing back, but I think I'd prefer Reece James. I think a superior right wing back. So it's tough on Callum, it really is at the moment, because we're at a stage of the season, and Tammy and Giroud are finding this as well, is if you're not one of those regulars, if you're not even a player that Tuchel likes to rotate in and out, if you're not one of the first subs, you find it really difficult, because Tuchel has said, despite being a manager like Pep, who does rotate his team a lot and does make changes pretty frequently, is I think he wants to have more of a settled starting lineup at this key stage of the season. So it makes it difficult for someone like Callum, who you think way back when Tuchel arrived felt like was going to be a key player under him, but that just simply has not been the case. Once again, I'll look at that Arsenal game in midweek, because I think that could be a chance, say, for Callum to get some minutes, but it seems quite unlikely. But that is my lineup, and that is my preview for tomorrow night's game. Let me know your thoughts on the big game of the Etihad tomorrow night in the comments below. Give me your lineups. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and a notification bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter at SonOfChelsea, and I'll see you again.